hello, and welcome to the Coaxum Report. My name is Terry Coaxum, and of course, I am the host. And I am super excited today to be joined by Marva Dudley, Marva M. Dudley
Yes.
of MA Per Diem Services. Marva, welcome to the Coaxum Report. How are you?
I'm doing well. And how are you? And thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon.
Absolutely. I'm well. I'm well. So the Coaxum Report, we are, of course, on our TV.network, but those of you that are tuning in, you can also catch us on Amazon Fire TV. You could catch us on Android. You can also catch us on Roku. And we are going to rebroadcast on Tempo. And simultaneously, as folks are listening to us here on our TV.network, they can also listen to us on WSTX Bloomberg, and we're also on Apple TV. So thank you so much for joining us. We're international, so a lot of folks will probably reach out to you and tell you, "What are you doing on my show in the Caribbean? You need to be
Okay.
here."
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to agree with them too.
Absolutely. So tell us how. First of all, tell us a little bit about who is Miss Marva M. Dudley, and what do you and why do you do what you do? You're doing some great
Okay.
things. So talk to us.
Thank you. Again, my name is Marva Dudley. I'm a New York girl, born in Flushing, raised in Fresh Meadows, Queens. Um, as far as becoming a business owner, it wasn't the first choice. Just like many others, I was working in a law office. I was doing some per diem work on the side
Oh,
as a single mom, a little extra income, especially since my daughter was going into her senior year of high school.
mhm.
And I was with the law office. Things were going well, but then we started noticing things were changing.
That's right.
Let's just say every time we would come in, when we leave work on Friday, we come in on Monday, it was one less person.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
the
then,
writing was on the wall. The writing was on the wall.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. And I have to give them credit. They were transparent with us as far as what was going on. And then there was that one Friday when it was my turn.
Hmm.
And I will say that, yes, although I wasn't surprised, it's still a bit of a shock. Like, okay,
Hmm.
where do I go next? And I was actually blessed to be considered for a program called SEEP, which is the Self Employment Assistance Program.
Hmm.
And with that, I was able to learn how to turn my side gig into a
Into
full
your
time
main gig.
business.
Into your
Yes,
main gig.
my main gig. Yep. And, of course, there's been struggles. And there have been times when I've said, you know what? Do I really want to do this as a business owner? Let me go back to a job where there's nothing wrong with the job, nothing at all. But I just realized after being an employee for at that time for over 20 plus years,
Oh wow.
it was time for me to be an employer. And I know being an employer, but formally being an employee longer than an employer, I felt as though I could relate more with
That's right.
people who would be working for me, well, and with me.
That's right.
And
It's really interesting that you would say that real job, right? Go back to a job. You are on a real job. In fact, what you're doing now is more impactful than anything you would have ever done at the law firm. And so, when I was working for Small Business Administration under President Obama, I remember going to the Virgin Islands and having conversations with small business owners. And when I would talk to them about some of the barriers, they would say to me that their family members said to them, get a real job, get and in that sense that meant a government job, and for
mhm,
that meant to them that meant security. And I had to explain to them that your family members, it's not that they don't love you and they don't believe in you, they're operating from where they are, right? So if
yeah,
your family member sees security the way that they would see security in GM back in the day, which is what they saw, right, or in the
right,
government back in the day,
mhm,
then that would be to them a security blanket, and they're protecting you from not being able to meet the needs of your family. So I had to kind of, and that, when I said it that way, they were like, wait a minute, you're right. They just didn't believe in me. But it also gives you that extra,
Hmm.
opportunity to don't believe me, just watch, right? That
Right.
extra thing
Right.
to say, okay, so now they're looking at it this way. I know what I'm here for. I know I'm here for my season and my reason and my purpose. And if he brought me to it, he'll bring me through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go out and show them what you're made of, and then they're like, yeah, let me hold some.
Mm. Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So, now your main job is the job, right? So now you're doing this. Tell me a little bit about MA per diem services, because like you said, you were doing per diem, you had your little side hustle going on. Your side
Yes.
hustle became your main hustle. And for those of you that are listening, you just tuned in, we're talking to Marva Dudley, and she's talking to us about her transition from being an employee to being an employer, right? And so she was just
Yes.
giving us a little bit of background on how she landed into this phenomenal position that she's in now as a small business owner, and looking to expand and grow. And out of necessity, and I always say that opportunities will, the necessity will breed opportunities, right? So you'll find
Hmm.
yourself in a space where you're like, okay, now I got to do something different. I got to pivot. I got to, bob and weave, whatever that is. And so you landed here
Hmm.
in MA per diem services. Tell me a little bit about what that shows up every day to you. At.
Well, let me first say that MA Per Diem Services Inc. We are a paralegal firm.
Mm-hmm,
We provide mobile notary services throughout New York City, as
mm-hmm,
well as Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester counties. In addition, we also provide paralegal services and staffing support for solo attorneys and small law firms. Usually, law firms no more than 1 to 3 attorneys in the office.
mm-hmm,
And people sometimes ask me, well, why do you, they say, limit myself to these solo practitioners and the small law office? I don't feel as though it's a limit. I'm limiting myself. I know my niche. I have worked in both, but I know where my company would be the most helpful because, as we all know, when you're a business owner, you're looking to solve a problem.
that's right.
What is it that your business, what is the problem that your business can solve?
That's
And I
right.
have worked with many solo practitioners, and
And they need
uh,
you. They need
yes,
you. They're usually on an island. They're usually all
yes.
alone in the Nile, right? And
Hmm.
so they need your team members to come in with your expertise. They don't need to micromanage. They don't need someone that isn't clear on what they're doing. They need someone to come in and already know what they're doing because they're already over capacity.
Yes.
Especially if you're in certain fields. In New York, family court is one of those high, intense, demanding, moving
Hmm.
spaces. Civil court is another, criminal court is that. So they're always moving. They need you and your
Right.
team to come in and offer those services. So what I will say, and you hit it, right, the nail right on the head. It's a niche market. You
Right.
understand your market because you did your market research. You've been in this space. You were in a
Mhm.
law firm.
Yes.
You
Yes.
understood that market. You understand now what's needed, and you're bringing your team of experts into a space to help these solopreneurs to take it to the next level. And a lot of them, they wouldn't be able to do their billing. They wouldn't be able,
Right.
to do their cases if they didn't have just able to just check you in every now and again to make sure that they're staying on track. And I know this because I'm shouting out to my solopreneurs right now that
Mhm.
are looking for MS per diem services to show up for them. Some of them have a space for you. Some of them can't wait to have a space for you, but more importantly, they understand the importance of having you and your team on board. And so I want to shout you out for understanding
Thank you.
that and being
Thank
that
you.
group. So now you're there. You're servicing your solopreneur. What are some of the barriers to that entry?
Well, the first barrier is when the attorney finally realizes that they need help.
Yes.
Because I have been referred to many attorneys, solo practitioners. I'll call you back. I'll call you back. Oh, I got a trial. I got this. I got that. I'll call you back.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I used to wait for the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized, wait a minute, when I was working with those same attorneys, solo practitioners by themselves, it was always me that was making the phone call because they weren't able to make the phone call because they were already inundated with so many other things.
Right.
So it
That's
got to the point where I started calling myself, and reintroducing myself.
that's right.
And sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But again, where there's a no, there's eventually going to be a yes.
That's right.
I'm a firm believer in that. So then I mean, I'll take one for example. Finally spoke with her. She's a solo practitioner, criminal defense, very very complex practice.
Mhm.
Especially when you're talking about all this discovery and everything. And basically, I had to let this attorney know I'm here.
Mhm.
What do you need? And the one thing I'll never forget what she told me, she said, you know what? I trust you.
Wow.
And
And
see,
that's
and
important. That's
yes,
important.
because she explained to me, I have the lives of individuals in my hands,
That's right.
as far as either their freedom or, you know, it may end up being the lack of, depending on the outcome.
That's right.
And she was like, I need someone I can trust. Because that's another thing with solo practitioners. They sometimes keep their circle very small.
And because they have to. A lot of them
Yes.
have been burnt.
Yes.
A lot of them have been burnt. I mean, I'm just commending you right now because I know I have conversations with small business owners, often solopreneurs that are in the legal practice that are struggling. Like billing for one is a huge deal for them.
Yes. Yes.
Being able to put in their billing to get because they're not getting paid and they're still working. They're still
Right.
required to continue to do the work. So having MS per diem services come in and be able to take that load off frees them up
Mm-hmm.
to do what they're doing in the courtroom and behind the scenes because a lot of this is before you get to the courtroom. Most of the work for these solopreneurs is actually in the writing and the discovery and the negotiation and all of those
Mm-hmm.
things before they even if they even get to a courtroom years later. So I mean, this is phenomenal. I'm glad to know that you're offering this phenomenal service to solopreneurs because I do know that they really, really, really need it. So now
Right.
you're in this space and you're doing this wonderful job and you're not taking no. And now, mind you, I'm asking you if you listen to the show, take your pen out. She just gave you a nugget. She gave you a nugget. No is not the end. It's usually the beginning of
No.
a conversation. And so,
Mm-hmm.
in hearing no, what that meant to her is that she needed to now go back and she needed to come back again at a later time because being in that space, and that's also something, Marva, that is another nugget here. You were in that space, you were in the law firm,
Yes.
right? So you understood the
Yes.
demands of everyday life that it took. And you also understood the calls had to be made, but a lot of times the attorneys weren't able to make those calls. It was you that was able to make
Yes.
that heavy lift to get it off their chest. Okay, so now
Yes.
we're talking about these barriers. So what the barrier? No, we're not taking no for an answer, right? So
Right.
now we're moving past that. Now you have your clientele. In fact, you probably have more clientels now, and you have to hire more team members because I can tell you're smiling because she's like,
Sometimes, not all the time, but it's a good thing when I do. And right now, I will say, especially post COVID, and especially with the solo practitioners, they want someone where, first off, they want someone where they only want to have to pay them when they're actually working. What I mean by that is working as well, everyone that works in my company, we are per diem professionals.
that's right.
And that being said, with a per diem professional, you only are paying for hours worked. You're not having to meet payroll for an employee that has to take a sick day, that's not in the office on vacation. You know that for say the 8 or 9 or however hours they are working, that is what you pay them for. And
Right.
I'm finding now more so that this is what many of
Are
the
leaning
law,
towards.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
They're leaning, but it's
And
not
plus
just the
two,
law firm. Let me tell you, Mara, it's not just law firm. It's a lot of
right,
business. A lot of
yes.
business that I'm seeing that in other business as well.
Yes, and the thing is, some of them, they don't want anyone to come into their office yet. There are per diem professionals that don't want to go into an office yet. There are some, because life happens, they are not able to do the traditional 9 to 5. But guess
Mhm.
what? There are employers out there that either don't want or don't need the traditional 9 to 5. Can you do a 2 to 6, a 12 to 5? I've worked for an international firm. I used to work sometimes 3 p.m. to 8 p.m.,
Hmm.
to coincide with their time
With
zones.
your time, right?
So it has really evolved so much. This is why I know that MA per diem services, again, that's our niche. And I know that with my company, again, this is a problem or an issue that we can solve.
That's right. I'm amazed, right? Because one thing that you're saying here is these opportunities are available now that weren't traditionally available. This isn't traditional work, right? So
Right.
this is literally, and I mean, again, back to that regular 9 to 5, that 7 to 3, whatever that is in your space. This isn't that world anymore, right?
No.
There are individuals that actually need you to work different hours, right? So and your service offer them what they need in the time that they need it for, just the amount of time that they need it, which is what people are looking for now. They're not looking for to have someone in a space. There's not as many brick and mortar either. I mean,
No.
even the government has downsized, and they don't even have as many people in office post COVID as they did prior to COVID. And so
Absolutely.
even that work schedule has changed a lot, and so you found your niche in the nick of time, I'd say. You found a space to be able to do the work that you're doing internationally and nationally. And that's something else that I want to kind of point out, because you kind of glossed over that, like that's just business as usual. International business is not just business as usual. You have to, one, your tenacity, right? Your experience, and I still say to people all the time that your word of mouth is still one of the strongest points, right?
Hmm.
So all of this landed you in this space where you're doing international work as well as work here in the mainland, right? And so, but there's so many more opportunities for you to do that. I was just having a conversation with my hairstylist, and I was very surprised. The company that I do a lot of business with, I have all these services with. I went to call them the other day, said we're no longer accepting a phone. We're no longer taking phone calls. I was like, say what now? Go
Hmm.
online and send us your inquiry and we'll be able to respond. And I was like, I wasn't very happy with it, but that was like the second company. This was myfax.com.
Mm.
That's the second company that over the last year or two has transitioned to just be virtual only. I was very
Wow.
surprised by that, but I'm hearing from my hairstylist that is the way that business is going. I remember I could pick up the phone and call Amazon and get them on the phone anytime, any day.
Hmm.
That no longer the case. You
Mm-mm.
literally have to go through the chat, and then you have to go through all of it. Same thing with Verizon. Verizon's appear to be not having as many corporate offices anymore. Everyone, when I go into Verizon, you see Verizon, but when you get inside, you see that it is actually a third party that's
Yes.
running the Verizon store. So your forward thinking has landed you in a spot where you're able to provide services for companies like this. Now it's the law firm, because it's a solopreneur that your niche market is addressing this very big need for, right? But it's what I'm saying to all of you that are listening today. She has landed on a gold mine. This is what we're doing. So whatever your market is, whether it's in technology, you can do similar to what Marva's doing in your particular field, because she's showing you how to do it. She's showing you that you can take your knowledge, your skills, and your ability and be able to serve your niche market, be able to serve your team. Your team members can be able to serve whatever industry it is that you
Yeah.
have an expertise in, simply by doing it virtually. Because, like she said, not a lot of people want you to be in their space. They want to be
That's
able to
right.
do what we're doing right now. Marva could be in Dubai having this conversation with me, but
Mm.
she's here, right? So, I mean,
Yep.
we're able to do all of this, and this is great. I want you guys to take notes. No is not an answer. No is not a no. Like, you have to explore. No gives you an opportunity to explore what else can I do for this particular client if this is the market that you're going after. So I want to thank you for sharing that, and also thank you for sharing some of the barriers, because a lot of times people look at you, they say, "Oh, she's successful. Oh." She's blessed. She said, "No, I worked really hard
Yes.
to
And
get
still
where I'm
working hard
and
as
I'm still
well.
blessed. Don't get me wrong. I'm still blessed. but I
Yes.
worked hard because faith without works is dead, right? So I am putting in my work to be able to get to where I need to get to in my business and in my life. So I want to talk to
Right.
you now a little bit about, because we talked about some barriers, right? I want to talk to you a little bit more about some best practices, because even the international work that you're doing, that appears to me to be, on the surface, that appears to be somewhat of a best practice. You're able to do the services, and one of the things that you said, it kind of sticks out a little bit. It's not traditional 9 to 5 hours, or 7 to 3, or 3 to 11. Like, it literally is, you're working on a schedule of the industry that you're
Mhm.
working to help them to meet their needs. So tell me a little bit about some of those best practices and how you're able to do that successfully.
Okay. And I want to also say, in addition to that, I also offer these services to consumers, and it's also globally. So basically, it's all about accommodation. And again, when it's for an attorney, it's basically, again, and if it is an attorney who does have international clients, again, they want to be able to accommodate their clients to keep them on so they can get paid, and my company will do the same. And as far as with consumers, as I stated before, I'm a mobile notary. I also do remote online notarization. And yes, I will. I mean, I've had clients, in particular, I had a couple of clients in China. I've had clients that were in Thailand. At 3 a.m. Eastern Time, I am speaking with them virtually to do a remote online notarization. Yeah,
Wow.
it may not be very convenient for me, but as long as it's convenient for them and accommodating for them, then it will be done. You go on my Calendly link as far as to schedule, you will see, for the most part, my availability is from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m.
Wow.
And for those who are familiar with Calendly, which is really great about the product, I guess I'm giving a plug now to Calendly. Um, it will actually default to the person's time zone,
That's right.
so they can't
Wow.
try to figure it out. So really, what is successful as far as for MA per diem services, working with law offices and consumers internationally, again, it's all about accommodation. If
Accommodation.
we're able to accommodate that, we can get the job done.
Awesome. So let me tell. I want to talk to you a little bit about the notary. I didn't know you could do mobile notary. So you're teaching me something. Teach me a little something right now, especially international mobile notary. And so for those of you that may be in a notary field, this is something for you to consider, because what Marva just introduced us to is a market out there of individuals that's looking to get those services, and so she's offering them in the time zone of the industry leader that's looking for it. That's number one.
Hmm.
And then number two, she's also into something that's different. Usually when I think notary, I think you're in front of me, I got to show you my driver's license, and then you're going to verify my signature because I'm signing it in front of you, and then
Hmm.
you're going to notarize a document. But I can see how technology can make that a little easier. But tell me about how that works for in your industry.
Okay, well, right now I basically have been hired as far as from title companies, as far as for real
Ah,
estate
got it, got
transactions,
it, got it, got it,
for
got it, got
remote
it.
online notarization. So what will happen is, first there is a two-step verification
That's
process
right.
to
That's right.
confirm the person's identity, and of course, then they have to have their camera positioned so that way I can actually see them signing the document.
That's right.
However, the um, once that document is signed, they do have to send me the original document with their original signature. In addition to that, they must also send me a copy of the same photo identification that they showed me virtually. And I always stress that. Don't show me the passport, then send me a copy of your driver's license. It has to be the same exact ID that you used when you signed the document. So then once I get that in the mail, it's usually, like I said, it's international. So it's usually like a few days or so. So once I get everything, of course, I examine it again. to make sure. Plus, also too, a lot of times the title company will send me a scan of the signed document,
Wow.
but they know I need the original because I will not notarize a copy.
That's right.
That
And you
is one of
shouldn't.
the
You shouldn't.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so they know that yes, it's going to take a little time, but if you want me to notarize it, that's the time that we'll need to take. So then once I
That's
get
right.
the original document, I notarize it and confirm the ID and everything, and then I send it back to them. And
Nice.
so far we've been successful. And I will say too, although I do offer, I'd say those odd hours for remote notarization, I also offer those odd hours for in-person notarization.
Hmm.
I have been known to meet someone at LaGuardia Airport before their 6 a.m. flight.
Wow.
Yes, yes, I have done
Wow.
that.
By any means necessary. You hear about this tenacity? I already told you she is no joke, right? She's like, listen, I'm going to get mine. I understand my market. I understand what I'm doing. And this is the time that you have that I'm going to work with you in your time to get what you need because you understand the importance of actually getting that document notarized so that they can move forward in their business because it allows you to move forward in your industry as well. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. We're talking to Marva at MS Per Diem Services.
MA per diem.
MA per Diem Services. I'm changing it at MA Per Diem Services. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
I used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dance, oh, don't stall, better get tuned in to the Tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't Tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo.
Follow the Brand TV broadcast host, Grant McGaw, as he visits with top executives and entrepreneurs to find out their secrets of success with their personal brand. Follow the Brand TV broadcast host as he focuses on brand development to build better relationships, bring value to your business, relationships, and career. You will enjoy listening to each episode that is tailored to speak to you directly. If you're looking for this type of clarity in terms of building your brand, you have tuned into the right station. Each episode will help you to shape a conversation in the 5-star BDM network of 20,000 professionals and become a springboard for your corporate engagement and business opportunities. Each guest will frame their story in the areas of personal branding, business development, career development, financial empowerment, and technology innovation. Grant McGaw explains why he is the CEO and owner of his own professional career. Grant is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur who wants to give back to individuals to grow their personal brand strategy. Tune in as he weaves his story about new possibilities, while to you exceed expectations. If you love storytelling, this show will make for fun.
ICABA, ICABA, stands for the International Career and Business Alliance. And basically, it's really about building, activating relationships that grow well.
What is ACABA doing? ACABA is putting you in an environment where you can rub shoulders, you can actually talk to wealth creators, to entrepreneurs who may look like you, who may come from circumstances like you, who may come from an environment like your environment. And then once you go ahead and grab that baton, you might say, well, this is possible. This individual over here did it, and now I can do it. So ICABA is raising our level of vision, and they're doing a fantastic.
vacation on the west end of St. Croix, visiting a seaside restaurant called the Beachside Cafe here at Sandcastles on the Beach.
The atmosphere is just wonderful.
You just feel very welcome when you're here.
Hi! I'd like to introduce Chris and Ted, who are the owners of Beachside Cafe and also Sandcastles on the Beach. This is amazing!
Thank you.
Sandcastle on the Beach is quiet and friendly, relaxing.
I often entertain guests, and this is the one place I always try to bring people.
Tell us a little bit about the hotel.
Well, the hotel is a 25-room hotel. We have 10 different room types within that. We also have, of course, our greatest asset, the ocean out there, which our side of the island is very calm typically. So it's the best swimming beach and also great for snorkeling.
And just walking, doing a nice walking beach tour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best beach access is right here, so we love them.
And we're also fortunate we have just up the way Sandy Point National Park, and then Frederickstead Town is just a mile away. Mm-hmm. And so we're really fortunate to be in this perfect spot.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Coaxum Report. Marva, I told you, when they start showing the food, I'm like, all right, I need to be in the Virgin Islands.
I tell you, that seeing the beaches and everything, I'm like, oh, it's just May. Okay. All right now.
So welcome back. Welcome back. Again, this is the Coaxum Report. For those of you that are just tuning in, I have special guest Marva M. Dudley, the owner and CEO of MA Per Diem Services. And Marva is sharing with us a lot of great nuggets about her industry. You can catch us on Amazon Fire TV, on Android, on Apple, and Roku. I encourage you to download the app on our TV.network, and you can also catch us simultaneously on WSTX Bloomberg, listen to us on the radio. And Marva has been sharing a lot of great nuggets. She started out by talking about some of the barriers, going from an employee to an employer, right? Understanding that there was a whole market out there of individuals that needed her services. And so now she's offering those services, not taking no, when a client is saying no, she's figuring out ways to go back to that client, because she realized that in that high intense role of being a solopreneur, you're usually, bobbing and weaving and really trying to get everything to work out. And that's where her team can come in as the experts and be able to get you over the hurdles. And so she said she was the one that was making some of these phone calls to individuals. And so she understands, the urgency of what's needed when it's needed. And so I want to thank you so much for that. But then she started sharing with us some of the best practices, and we started talking about the international work that she was doing. And Marva's talking to us a lot about, the industry, the notary industry, and how that's changed in title companies and working with them, and making sure that individuals that are in different countries are able to get the services they need through MA Per Diem Services. And so we're talking about tenacity, we're talking about work ethic, we're talking about accommodating clients at different times based on what their needs are. And more importantly, we're talking about taking your knowledge, skills, and ability and turning it into your secret sauce. And so I want to thank Marva so much for sharing all of this with us in the first half hour of the Coaxum Report. And so we talked about the barriers, we talked about some of the best practices. I want to dig in a little bit now about some of the big ideas. Like, what are some of the things that MA Per Diem Services is doing to elevate even more what the industry needs, especially because you understand firsthand what solopreneurs need, what consumers need, and what other clients need, and you're filling in the gap, you're standing in the gap for them and making sure that they get what they're needing. You're doing all of this as a minority woman business owner in a space and time that you're able to elevate them. Because, one of my favorite quotes is, when I rise, I climb. When I climb, I rise. Right. So as I'm going up that ladder, I'm making sure I'm pushing people up with me. And that's what you're able to do through MA per diem services. You're able to help those solopreneurs to get to the next level and take them a lot of the pressure off of them. So I want to commend you for that as well. So talk to me
Thank you.
a little bit more about some of the big ideas around what you're doing. One of them, again, I'm going back to international, because there was a time and space when you only did business locally, then you did business throughout the United States. Now we're talking global business.
Right.
So I want you to talk a little bit about the global business needs, and then how you're able to do that in the best practices and big idea space.
Okay, well, actually, the goal, because there's nothing wrong with dreams, but I set goals,
Mhm.
is that I want MA per diem services to have an even larger global footprint.
Mhm.
I, in addition to providing services for clients globally, I want
Mhm.
to also be able to hire per diem professionals globally,
Nice.
because I feel as though, if there's an opportunity there and the person, is ready, willing, and able to, grasp onto that opportunity, why not offer it to them? And the location, should not really be a barrier, especially now
That's
in the
right.
digital age that we live in.
That's right.
I used to always say in the beginning, oh, um, if I can just have clients here in Manhattan. Okay, or if I can just have clients here in Queens. All right, now let me see if I can get some in Brooklyn. And I was like, no, okay, that's good. But what about another state? And then honestly, with the global aspect, it was actually a stumble upon. It was from a former client that I was doing side gig work for, per diem work for, and he would always need someone in his office on a Sunday evening. Now my daughter was young, and I was like, used to say, no, I don't want to do that. But then speaking with, my father at the time, he used to always say this to me, Martha, the money is out there.
Mhm.
He would always say that the money is out there. So when I would tell him about this particular attorney, he was like, well, he obviously needs someone. He keeps calling you. Everyone else is saying no. He said, just say yes this one time and see what happens, because I knew my daughter would be taken care of. My parents were there, at the time. And going in there that one Sunday
Mhm.
just opened up, a door of more opportunities for
That's
me.
right.
Mind you, I was still full time with this other firm.
That's right.
So, and he never forgot that.
That's right.
He never did. And there were times, he would still call me every now and then. And then when I ended up becoming a business owner, then I thought about it. I said, yeah, I could do the same thing.
That's right. Opportunities.
Yeah.
So looking for the time and space to expand on opportunities that already exist. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We
No.
just have to be creative, and we have to be accommodating, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times that we miss opportunities because the no comes out before anything
Hmm.
else. Oh, it's my weekend. Oh, it's my this.
Hmm.
Oh, it's my that. But you can take another day off, right? Make sure that you play your penance to God, and you pray and you're doing all those things. But you can
Hmm.
take another day off for that opportunity to show up for you. And so
Right.
that's one other thing that you just gave us a nugget on. Don't be afraid to take that risk. Don't be afraid to
Right.
step into that door. Don't be afraid to just go in that one day to see what
Hmm.
that really opens up. And it opened you up to a whole bunch
Yes.
of other opportunities that now still exist for you. So that's
Yes.
really, really important for those that are listening in, because a lot of times we think about it, we're like, oh, I don't want to do that. But you may be missing your blessing. You may be missing your
Yes.
blessing by not taking the time to just walk through that door to see what's going to show up for you. And I just say, I thank God for grace. I'm like, thank you for grace.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
now you walk through this door, these opportunities open up, and then they became global opportunities as well.
Yes.
So now talk to me a little bit more about what do you want to see now? Now that you're in this space that you're in and you're able to dream big, you're able to do these things globally. You're not just because you said you started out, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Manhattan, and then Manhattan became all five boroughs, and now you're doing all five boroughs. Now you're doing all states. You know, like you're open, you're able to notarize and to travel and do mobile notary any place in the world, including other countries. That's an amazing opportunity. And that's because you took the time to one, to get the knowledge, skills, and ability to be able to notarize, to understand what you needed to do it internationally and mobilely and globally now, right? And now you're taking that to the next level. Because I mean, that in itself is a lucrative opportunity. I was talking to one of my really good friends. We went to Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte, North
Oh,
Carolina together.
okay.
And
HBCU.
yeah, JCU. So I was talking to her. She's like, I do notary. I do travel notary at the hospitals, and then for people that are coming to, like, they're doing their wills and stuff like that. She tries. She says, and it's good money. And then she also talked about doing the titles and notarizing documents in real estate. And she's like, you should consider it. Now, mind you, listen, I used to be a notary. I'm not gonna tell you on camera why I'm not a notary anymore, but I was like, oh, I'm not messing with y'all folk. I'm just gonna say family, and I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna put it right there. I'm not gonna pick it back up. I'm just gonna say family, right?
Right.
But she's like, no, you need to reconsider that. And as I'm listening to you, for all of those that are listening, and that you are in that notary space, Marva just gave you some great nuggets on how you can expand your brand globally. You can do it globally,
Yes.
but make sure you're following all your rules and regulations, and
Yes.
you're getting the official documents, and you're not notarizing copies, and you're doing what you need to do without taking shortcuts. Because I tell you, it is a space where a lot of people are asking for a notary for different things
Yes.
that you're doing, especially if it's official, it's real estate, if it's healthcare proxy, all of these things need a notary. So think about that.
Yes.
And now you're in this global space. You're able to work from anywhere in the world. You're able to your clientele are vast, because the solopreneur and the consumer, that's a big, area of individuals that you're able to work with. What are some of the other best practices that you've been able to first of all, let me back it up. How many years have you been in business, Marva?
MA Per Diem Services, we started in December of 2016.
Nice. Nice, 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 nice. And the number is 5. Once you're in business for 5 years or more, you're success, right? So a lot of
Listen.
businesses fail before they get to 5. And so you've been here, you're in this space, right? And so since 2016, you've been doing this and expanding your brand, expanding your services, and now you're global. You're doing global stuff as well as here in the mainland. So talk to me a little bit more about some of those best practices that you're able to stay a success in the industries that you're in. So you're offering that, and I got to go back to that because that's how it started. You're offering that 101 administrative support to solopreneurs, especially in the legal field, that need that extra hand to say, to be able to take their businesses to the next level. And again, you talk to us about how the industry has changed. You said it's no longer the traditional 9 to 5 hours. They need you different times. So you had an opportunity to work with someone from 3 to 11, or you had an opportunity to work with them from 12 to 6, or whatever those non-traditional hours are, but you were able, and you were flexible enough in your business to be able to accommodate them. And so that's something that we're talking about as well. Be the service that your client needs at the time that they need it,
Need
right?
it.
So that you can, one, help them, but also they can help you, right? So we talked about those things. Now we talked about best practices. I want you to tell me a little bit more about that space of best practices, and then I want to get to solutions. Like, what are some of the things that, if you could tell a younger Marva about what you're doing right now, like, what would that be? But before we get to that solution part of it, I want you to talk a little bit more about your best practices and the service offerings, because I want individuals to know exactly what you have to offer and where they can find you at, so that they can come and receive some of the excellent services that you're able to deliver in the space that you're delivering it at MA per diem services.
Okay, thank you. Well, as far as my best practices, as you were asking, one thing that I commend myself for is knowing what I am able to do and what I am not able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because, again, when we started to become where we were growing nationally, there was an attorney, solo practitioner, but the area of law that he practiced, I did not have enough knowledge of.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did know a paralegal in California
Mm-hmm.
that did. Although they were in California, they had been living and working in law offices in New York for so many years, to
Mm-hmm.
where they had the knowledge of the laws here in New York as well as in California. So I was still able to accommodate that client because he didn't want anyone in his office. He wanted everything electronically. And by being able to accommodate that attorney and also offering that paralegal in California an opportunity to make some additional income, that was a win-win for me.
But
You
hold
know,
on, you're missing one of the biggest nuggets you just gave. Your network is your
is
net
your
worth.
net worth?
Is your
Yes,
net worth. That's a big nugget. Like,
yes,
okay, so yeah, he was able to get the service he needs. She was able to make extra income, but you were able to reach into your network
hmm,
and make it your net worth. And so it's
yes,
really important for us to understand that we should always continue to nurture our relationships. And she's in
yes,
California, but that's a part of your network, right?
right,
And your
yes,
network was able to help him get the services he need. And so that's really important understanding, and making a connection, right? But more importantly, having that network that you can make that connection for him. So that's
yeah.
important. I mean, hey, she done gave you another now. I told y'all to pick up y'all pens. Y'all just saying this. So we got our networks. We talking about technology, online services. Business is not traditional business as usual. We talked about being global, having global services available. We talked about going from employer to employee and what that means, understanding your client, understanding what their needs are, what the needs of your team members are, and how they're able to service the industries you're in, understanding and having the knowledge, skills, and ability to be able to deliver the services, whether it is here mainland or globally, which is also really, really important because it's not business as usual when you're doing business globally. You have to make sure that you are adhering to those rules and regulations as well. And so that's something that you've been
Yes,
able to master. And I want to make sure that those that are listening, because this is an international show, those that are listening understand that you still have to adhere to the rules and regulations of the space that you're operating in. So I want to thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you so much for that. So you were able to pull in your network to make it your net worth, right? And offer that to him. What are some of the other things? And I mean, we're winding down. I don't even know how we got to this point that we're almost at the end of the show, but I want you to talk a little bit more about some of the other the best practice, because you already gave us nuggets. You already gave us your work ethic and your tenacity. Your network is your net worth. Understanding the technology, the space in the industry, being flexible and being able to cater to your clients. And it's not just the traditional business hours as usual. And so is there was something else that you want to share before we go on to talking to that younger Marva?
Yes.
I was reading about Mary and Martha, so my brain is a little bit on Martha. I was reading about the five heroines of
Uh-huh.
organization, and
Okay.
so Martha's on my brain for a minute. But the young Marva, before we get to young Marva, any other nuggets that you want to share in this space of best practices or big ideas before we go on to some solutions?
Best practice that I live by professionally and personally, honesty. I let people know, number one, I'm a paralegal. We are a paralegal firm. We are not attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
We do not practice law. We do not give legal advice. Any and all work that we do is under the supervision of a licensed attorney. I
Mm-hmm.
just say to anyone, be honest. I'd rather tell a client no than tell them yes not be able to deliver, and then that whole relationship is just crushed. And it does, and when you crush that relationship, it's not between you and just that one person, because guess what? They're going to let other people know. Hey, listen, I reached out to them and this is what they did to me. So again,
and that word of mouth is still key.
Yes,
the word of mouth spread like a wildfire.
Exactly. As far as my big goals, honestly, again, a larger footprint globally as well as nationally. I want MA per diem services to grow to the point where no matter where a client is, no matter the location, the time zone, or wherever, we will be able to accommodate them in such a streamlined manner that, it'll just be so simple because I will have teams and per diem professionals in place.
Nice. So you'll be able to touch any and everyone that you need to touch. So I want to go back to that honesty. And one of the other things that I live by is that I under promise and over deliver. So even if it's not in my wheelhouse, I let them know, listen, this is not in my wheelhouse. I'm going to connect you to the person that it is in their wheelhouse, and here's what we'll be able to do for you, right? So that honesty, like you said, it goes a long way. As long as you're clear, this is not in my wheelhouse. This is not what I do. My net worth is my net worth, right? I'm going to be able to connect you to who you need to be connected to. When I'm working for someone, I give it my 110%.
Yep.
And deliver deliver on whatever it is that I tell them I'm going to do for them. Because at the end of the day, that honesty and your reputation and your integrity, those are things that you don't get back. So
exactly.
You're operating your business. You have to operate it fully with integrity and honesty, and make sure that you are able to deliver on what you say you're going to deliver on. And communication is key.
Yes,
be able to
absolutely.
communicate with your clients. So those are all falling in lines with being honest, with the honesty. Thank you so much for that. And then the goal, it's done. Speaking of this stuff, we touching and agreeing right now, right? So we're going to have a larger global footprint in both national and international footprint. MS Per Diem Services is going to be known around the world for all of the great work that you guys are doing. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of the Coaxum Report today. And I know it's funny how time flies and we're having fun, and we only got a few more minutes for us to talk about some solutions. And I want to talk to the younger Marva, who was the employee that is now employer. What are some of the nuggets? What are some of the things that you would like to share as we are coming to the close of the show, with all those that are now going to look back at this and say, wow, she's an amazing person. She's doing these great things, and I want to do what she's doing. What would you offer them at this point?
I would tell the younger me not to take the no's personally.
I love it.
Yeah, because that really slowed the process as far as me starting my company. When I was out there with the side gig and then called myself trying to do it on my own, but I wasn't doing it the right way.
Right.
And then when I was told no, I would get angry. I'm like, really? Well, that's all right. I got a job, But that's what I would say. You know what? Don't take it personal. It's business. And again, that's only one no.
Right.
You'll eventually.
But those no's set you up for yes. That's
right.
The thing. The no's will set you up for yes. And so, don't take it personal. The no's will set you up for yes. And I always tell my clients, what's for you is for you. No one is going to be able to get what's for you. What's for you is for you. And he said it. He's bringing you to it. He'll bring you through it. You just have to be clear about what your market is, what your industry is. And one thing that you said, Marvin, that resonates deeply with me is being honest about what that is, right? Being honest about what you're able to deliver on, what you're able to do, because that is really what's going to catapult you to the very next level of whatever you're doing. As long as you're doing it with honesty and integrity, and you're giving it your 110%, you're doing more than what you're paid for. Because if you ask life for a penny, life's going to give you a penny. But if you're asking life for this global and international footprint, you're going to get this global and international footprint, because what you put in is what you get out of it. Because he said, right? The faith without works is dead. So this is work and you're clear on what work is and you're putting it in. I just want to commend you for working with the solopreneur, helping them take it to the next level. And I thank you for being a part of the Coaxum Report. You have really made my day. I look forward to talking with you some more once we become this global and international service around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
You're
I
welcome.
really, really
And I
appreciate
gotta
it.
shout out our sister from another mister that we have in common, Miss Denise.
Yes.
Peace. Thank you
Yes.
for
Thank you, Denise.
always being on the spot. Love you much. You can't do nothing about it. Have a super amazing day on purpose. Happy Wednesday.
Yes.